there, Brittany here from Just Be Crafty. If you're new here, welcome, and if not, thanks so much for coming back. Today we're going to be making this super fun and simple boysenberry shawl. The ribbing in the pattern gives the shawl a really nice squish with an amazing drape. This shawl would make for a great gift, but after you finish it, you probably won't want to give it up. I've also made a set of mittens to match, so make sure you hit subscribe so you'll be notified when the matching mittens are released next week. To make your own shawl, here's what you'll need. 2 balls of Red Heart Super Saver yarn or your favorite standard acrylic yarn. For my shawl, I use the color boysenberry, but in my sample today, I use gold. You'll need your favorite 6mm crochet hook, scissors, and a yarn needle. I'll have all the materials I'm using in today's video linked below. And as a side note, thank you so much for liking my videos and for subscribing to my channel. It means so much to me and helps more crocheters just like you find this channel, which ultimately helps me keep free patterns and tutorials coming your way. So thank you so much for your support. And now, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. Grab your yarn, and we're going to start with a slip knot. Add your hook, and start by chaining 3. Next, we're going to create a loop by slip stitching into the 3rd chain from our hook. We've now just created a loop. We're going to start our first row by chaining 3. So 1, 2, 3. This chain 3 is going to count as the first double crochet of this row. Find the center of the loop you just created, and into that loop we are going to make 2 double crochets. So there's our first double crochet and our second double crochet. And then we're going to chain 2, and we're going to make 3 more double crochets inside that loop. So there's 1, 2, and 3. We've just completed row 1. So now we can turn our work, and we're going to start row 2 by chaining 3. So 1, 2, 3. The starting chain 3 will count as the first stitch of the row for the rest of the project. For the remainder of the pattern, we're going to be working in the back loops only in all of our stitches. Into this first stitch, we're going to make 2 double crochets. So there's 1, and this is 2. And we're just working into the back loop. Still working in the back loop, we're going to make 1 double crochet into the next stitch. So we're inserting our hook into that back loop and making 1 double crochet. And into the next stitch, we're going to go into the back loop again and make 1 double crochet. Now we've reached the chain 2 space. We're not going to worry about working into back loops here, just make your stitches around the chain. Make a double crochet, followed by a chain 2, and then another double crochet into the chain space. Work into the next stitch after the chain space. Make a double crochet into the back loop of this stitch. So find that stitch and go into the back loop only and make 1 double crochet. We're going to work 1 double crochet into the back loop of the next stitch. And now we've reached the starting chain 3 of the previous row. And remember, we are counting this as a stitch. Make 3 double crochets into the top of this turning chain. It might be a little tough to work into, but you can use your fingers to try to loosen it up a bit if your chain is too tight. And this completes row 2. We're now ready to turn our work and start row 3. From here on out, we're simply repeating row 2. Begin with a chain 3, and then we're going to make 2 double crochets into the back loop of the first stitch. And now we're going to work 1 double crochet into the back loops of each stitch until we reach the chain 2 space. So we're going into that next stitch, making 1 double crochet, going into the next stitch, into the back loop, making a double crochet, and we're just repeating that until we get to the chain 2 space. Okay, we've reached the center chain 2 space. Make a double crochet, chain 2, and another double crochet into the same chain 2 space. And into the next stitches, we're going to work 1 double crochet into each of the back loops until we get to the end of the row. So going into that back loop, making a double crochet, and we're just working our way to the end of our row. For our last stitches, we're going to make 3 double crochets into the top of the turning chain from our previous row. So we're going into that chain and making 3 double crochets. And this is our 3rd double crochet into that chain. And we've completed row 3 and we're ready to do row 4, and we'll be doing the same thing. I think you're probably getting the hang of this by now. We're going to turn our work, chain 3, and we're going to make 2 double crochets into the back loop of that first stitch. So that's our 2nd double crochet. And then we're going to work 1 double crochet into the back loops of each stitch across until we reach the center chain 2 space. All right, in the center chain 2 space, we're going to make a double crochet, followed by a chain 2, and another double crochet into that same chain 2 space. Once again, we're going to make 1 double crochet into the back loops of each stitch until we get to the end of our row. Okay, we're almost to the end. And now we're going to make 3 double crochets into the top of the turning chain from the previous row. So we're going into that chain, and we're making a double crochet, a second double crochet, and now the third and final double crochet of this row. We're going to continue this process until we've made about 44 rows or until you're happy with the size of your shawl. Okay, I've worked a couple more rows and you can see that the triangle is really starting to take shape. At some point, you're going to reach the end of your first yarn ball and you'll need to join in a second one. So I want to walk you through one of my favorite methods for joining my yarn in. We're going to do an invisible join. And this type of join is ideal for when you're joining 2 yarns of the same color. I've just cut my tail to simulate me reaching the end of my yarn ball. So get your hook out of the way and line up your tails like so, with your ending tail facing down and your new tail facing upward. Grab your new yarn tail and wrap it around your ending tail. And you're going to knot to secure. So tie around and then double knot it. And you'll see you can slide this knot up and down your ending tail. Now we're going to take the ending tail and wrap it around the new tail and knot it to secure. And if you forget which tail is which, simply slide your knot up and down, and the strand that the knot is sliding on is the tail you want to use to make your next knot around your new yarn. So that's a good little hack. Okay, so I'm holding my correct tail. Okay, so I just checked and made sure I have my right tail, and I'm going to knot and secure. And you want to make sure that you pull your tails as tight as possible. So now we're going to pull both the ending tail and the new tail, pull them apart, and then the 2 knots should slide together inward. Pull out both knots to make sure that they are securely tightened. So I'm just making sure that my knots are nice and tight. Grab your scissors and we're going to cut those 2 loose tails as close to the knot as possible. And actually, I probably could have cut a little bit closer there, but I was erring on the side of caution. And you don't have to worry about this coming out. This is a really great knot. So now we can continue to crochet as normal. So just work your stitches and pretend like the knot isn't even there. I'm going to just work a couple more stitches. See, I'm just going to crochet as if that knot isn't even there. And I'm going to crochet a couple more stitches too. Okay, now let's look back at where the knot is. And honestly, I can't really even see it. I mean, I guess I can if I specifically hunt for it, but once you finish your project, you likely won't even remember where your join is. I know I never do. This is the pattern. You're just going to keep working until you've completed about 44 rows or until you're happy with the size of your shawl. If you'd like, pause here and meet back up with me once you've finished your last row, and I'll help you with the finishing touches. At this point, you should have just about finished your shawl, and now it's time to finish up. I'm going to show you how to weave in your ends on my little sample. So you'll want to cut your yarn and fasten off. I'm going to mark the front side of my shawl where we have the little ledge or ribbing here starting in the first row, but it really doesn't matter which is the front or the back because the stitch is reversible and it does look the same on both sides. But so I'm going to mark that as the front, so I'm going to flip it over, and this is the side that we're going to weave in our tails. So flip over your work so that your back side is now face up. Take your yarn needle and thread it with one of your tails, and get your tail to a row of nearby stitches and weave it in like so. So I just found a nearby row, and I'm just going to weave into that row, and I'm going to go back and forth basically over that same spot. And feel free to sort of split your stitches as you weave it in because this makes for a stronger hold. Once you feel like your end is sufficiently weaved in, you can go ahead and cut your tail and move on to your remaining tails. I'm going to do the same thing with this tail. I'm going to thread my yarn needle, and I'm going to weave it into the nearest row of stitches. And I'm just going to slide it into that row. And I usually like to go down about an inch, inch and a half or so. I work my way in one direction, pull my yarn through, and then I'm going to work my way back up. And I just keep working back and forth in the same spot until I feel like my tail is sufficiently weaved in. And I like to kind of gently tug at my stitches so that I'm making sure that I'm not pulling those stitches too tight so there's no gaping or bunching in any part of my shawl. And I think that looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and trim my tail. And there you have it, the boysenberry triangle shawl. Make sure you tag me on Instagram. Always love to see your creations. I really hope you found this tutorial helpful, and if you did, be sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe so you never miss a new tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!